Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show. Getting ahead of the Eastern Conference play-in game finale here on Friday night. Going to be looking at the Heat and the Bulls. Lots to talk about in this one. Also got another video up with the Western Conference finale there in the play-in as well, between those Kangs and the Pelicans. So definitely want to check that out. Subscribe to the page if you would. Also head over to that Discord if you want to check out everything we're talking about in there. Having a really good time dealing with that Discord with everybody. Got some really good plays. In fact, one of these plays, I kind of reverted to what we were talking about in the Discord after some really good information was shared in there. So definitely want to jump in there. Description of that, or the link to that rather, is in the description of the video. But let's go ahead and jump right into Bulls and Heat. Couple of dudes on the injury report as questionable here for the Bulls. You've got Caruso and Ayo Dosunmu and Andre Drummond. All three of those dudes are questionable to play. My expectation is that we are going to seek at least Caruso and probably Drummond as well. Ayo Dosunmu seems like a legit questionable to me at this point, so I'm not necessarily just penciling him in to play in this one, but we'll see what that does to impact this team. We know the impact that Jimmy Butler's absence is going to have. It's going to be a little bit worse for Miami, obviously, without Jimmy. Also got Duncan Robinson, still questionable, but he's likely to play in this one. Looks like he's going to be upgraded to probable right as I'm actually recording this. So you can bank on Duncan playing, but it does feel like he's being rushed back, if we're being honest. Looking at the season stats for these teams from a little bit of a broader look here. Offensive rating for both these squads, very unimpressive, to be honest, both around 20th in the league there. Defense, we know the Heat are going to continue to dominate there, especially down low with their pressure defense. 5th best on the season in terms of D rating, but the Bulls, I think they're completely overrated as well. Even that 22nd defensive rating for them is something that they have not really even lived up to on the majority of the season. Both teams playing ridiculously slow, as you can see from the pace there, and some pretty good rebounding teams, but really not that efficient on either side of the ball in terms of scoring for both these squads. The defensive impact, much better for the Heat in terms of limiting shooters than the Bulls. So I do think the Heat shooters are going to have some success, but got a couple bets in here already with some shooters for the Bulls as well. How this Bulls offense compares to the Heat defense, you can see they want to shoot that mid-range, right? And the really interesting thing about this Bulls offense is not only are they shooting the most mid-range in the league, they're also going to the rim very consistently. However, they're not really getting points at the rim, to be honest. So their field goal percentage, not that great, but that is where they're taking the majority of their shots. They're not even really pulling up inside the paint. They're going all the way to the rim much more consistently than they are taking shots in that extended paint area. They only have 21. They are 21st, I should say, in terms of points in the paint. So you can see there's not that much success once they get in there, but they are going there a lot, and they take the majority of their shots from twos, right? The second highest percentage of their field goals attempted are from two. Second fewest of the in the league in terms of their three-point shots that they're taking as well. And they also are relying on those second chance points, 11th in terms of offensive rebound percentage. So it's going to be up to the Heat to stop them, but they do do a good job of limiting everything that this Bulls team wants to do, to be honest. I mean, even in the mid-range where they actually allow a pretty high percentage in terms of the opponent field goal from the mid-range, they're only giving up the 12th most field goals made from that part of the floor, which is what you need to do to limit this Bulls team, obviously, with DeMar DeRozan, the mid-range god there. And then in terms of the points in the paint, this is where they're not going to give anything up. Not only is Bam one of the better defenders down low, the entirety of Spo's defense, Eric Spoelstra, the head coach of the Heat, is going to be to continue to collapse on dudes anywhere from 15 feet in. That's what they do not give up, and that's a really big reason for why they're so good at limiting everything except for spot-up shooters. But they're not going to give up offensive rebounds or second chance points. They're one of the best defensive rebounding teams in the league. The only reason they're not a better overall rebounding team is because they're not really crashing the offensive boards on the offensive side. But on defense, they are not going to give up anything down low in the form of second chance points, offensive rebounds, or anything along those lines. So that probably won't be there for Vooch and the other dudes who want to crash the offensive boards for this Bulls squad. So what about Miami on the offensive side of the ball for the Heat? They are definitely an interesting squad. They get into the paint a lot, but they don't go all the way to the rim. They get a lot of those little bunnies from right outside of the restricted area under the rim. Bam is a huge proponent of that, as is Tyler Hero. Even guys like Caleb Martin with that little push shot, they're going to continue to take a lot of shots, not necessarily all the way at the rim, but certainly in the paint where they like to get in there. Second highest paint frequency versus dead last in rim frequency, which is, I thought, really interesting. And really what I love about this Heat team in terms of their ability to score against the Bulls is the fact that the Bulls will press up all the way up around above the break stuff and go for steals. That's why they give up so many threes in general, and especially in that corner three area where you can see that the Heat have the second highest corner three frequency among the league leaders in the amount of threes that are made from the corner. And if you're going to be the Bulls and you're going to pressure up top, well, then you're going to give up a lot of corners, right? The opponent corner three percentage is very high. They give up the 5th most corner threes in the league on the season as well. So that's going to be available for this Miami Heat team. If this Chicago Bulls defense is continuing to gamble above the break, then it's going to be there for the Heat. The thing the Bulls really need to do is limit free throws as well. The Heat are not only have the 8th highest free throw attempt rate, they're scoring the 3rd highest percentage of their points from the free throw line. They rely on the free throw line a ton to make sure that they can stick around on offense in these games. And if the Bulls are going to continue to foul, bottom 10 basically in terms of their ability to limit free throw attempts, they're going to be in trouble. The Bulls also do rely a ton on defense in terms of turning defense into offense through those steals. They have a ton of turnovers that turn into points that they cause. But this Heat team takes care of the ball very well, 10th best in their offensive turnover percentage and 13th in terms of limiting opponents' points off of turnovers, because they also get back on defense very well with one of the better transition defenses. So if that's not there for the Bulls and they're forced to play in the half court a lot, I don't see this working out very well for them. In fact, the total is very unpredictable to me as well, because of the fact that if the Bulls do get these steals, a little bit faster scoring. If they don't, I can't even see this game getting to 200 without Jimmy Butler, with a banged up Duncan Robinson and a banged up Ayo Dosunmu and Alex Caruso, even if they're in. So both those dudes are crucial to the offense as well. All this stuff kind of leads me to an under in this game, but we'll see about that. I still haven't laid anything down on a side or a total. I do, however, have a few player props that I'm going to throw at you. And before I get into that, I do want to see how these Heat players do without Jimmy Butler in. I think it's really important to know who might be impacted the most by Jimmy's absence. So you can see I'm starting here with Haywood Highsmith. I really wanted to talk about him because not only do we see his minutes per game go up by almost 7 per game, the points go up by 3.5, right? The field goal attempts are up. Everything is up for him without Jimmy Butler, which is the case for most guys because Jimmy sucks up so much usage and has the ball in his hands so consistently that it's obviously going to open up opportunities for other dudes when he's not on the floor. But for Haywood, the other thing I like is that he is the secondary defender on DeMar. You're going to see Caleb Martin play a ton of minutes in this game because he's going to be guarding DeMar for the majority of the time that he's on the floor. Both DeMar's on the floor, Caleb Martin's probably going to be on the floor. So that means that you're going to see a lot of Caleb Martin in the game, but Haywood is a dude who's going to be that secondary defender on DeMar, and whenever Caleb Martin needs a break, you're going to see Highsmith in there. I do think he's good for the 26 or so minutes that he's been playing on the season when Jimmy Butler's not around. I don't necessarily have a bet for Haywood in this game because we don't have props for him yet, but I definitely think I'm going to be eyeing some stuff. If we get some low enough numbers for his props, I'd be looking at his points and probably his rebounds as well as the way that he's going to impact this game with Jimmy Butler not out there. Interestingly about Bam here. Now, Bam only goes up about 3 minutes, which is still a good amount, playing about 36, which is probably what he'd play in this game anyway. If it's as long as it's close, we're going to see a lot of Bam Adebayo. But what is he going to do more of with Jimmy Butler not in the game? Scoring goes up by 4 points per game, but his prop is right at 22 points, right? The field goal attempts go up by a couple as well, but not dramatically so. Just 2 more shots for him per game, which is a good amount, but it usually will lead to about 2 more points, right? Everything also from the free throw line is more available for him because Jimmy is often going to the bucket and then getting those fouls for this team. So Bam will hopefully get to the free throw line a bit against this Bulls squad that does foul, but just as important, the assists, right? The assists per game go up by about 1.3. So do the boards, but both of those are placed ways that I would look to attack Bam's props here, probably more so on the assist, but the points, you got to imagine that he's going to be doing the bulk of the scoring outside of the shooters, right? There's not really anybody else that's going to be scoring necessarily as close to the basket, maybe some Caleb Martin stuff. But like I said, Caleb Martin doesn't really see an impact on his stats when there is no more Jimmy Butler in the game. One guy who does get a ton more stats is also going to be Jaime Jaquez. His numbers go up by about 7 minutes as well. 5 points per game for Jaime because he's taking almost 4 more shots per game without Jimmy Butler out there. The assists and the rebounds, they go up as well, but the most drastic stuff here is that Jaime Jaquez is certainly in the Jimmy Butler role a lot more in terms of where he's shooting from and how he is utilized within this offense. It's the same way that Jimmy is, right? And so it's a lot more free throws come for Jaime when there's no Jimmy Butler, which is a big reason you see those points jump up a ton. The last person I wanted to show you here is Tyler Hero. Hero does not go up either, right? There's really not much of a change. A little bit more, few more shots per game, but the points only go up by about 1 or so because of the fact that he's not very efficient with Jimmy not out there, and there's a lot more focus on him from that defense, right? So there's not as much to look at for Tyler in terms of like, okay, well now Jimmy's out, so I got to go ahead and hit Tyler Hero props over. It's not as much of a correlation as these other dudes. Which brings us to first best bet. And like I said, Caleb Martin is a good look here because of the fact that he's going to be out there a ton, 40 minutes to defend DeMar DeRozan. That's what I expect him at. And DDR is DeMar DeRozan, not Dance Dance Revolution. And I expect him to get about those 40 minutes in this one, which is why I do like to attack his props. And really, the PRA is as good of a look as anything. Although I think the points, now that you've got them at about 11.5 are pretty good money. That's not a bad play either if you'd rather have that. But I'm just looking at this fast athletic wing who is going to be a problem for the Bulls and has been all season. They give up a ton of points and just stats in general to dudes who can drive into the basket rather than just take outside shots. He also takes a ton of stuff from the corner, right? He's going to be a consistent 3-point shooter from that part of the court, which is where this Bulls team is very vulnerable. And like everywhere that he shoots, the ideal shot chart for Caleb against this team, right? Because of where he's shooting from. Now, everything is either from the corner, from above the break, or going all the way into the rim and at the rim, not just in terms of the paint. He does go all the way to the bucket and get a lot of those layups that he could be seeing a ton of in this game. So the two main things here are he shoots from the spot up, he shoots from the spots on the floor that the Bulls are weakest, and he goes inside all the way to the rim where this Bulls team is not good at defending the rim and specifically inside of 5 feet, right around the basket. So Caleb is a good look here for points, but I also like the PRA just because he's going to walk into a number of rebounds being out there for so long. Second best bet, shout out Ray from the Discord. Ray was huge in pointing out, I was looking at Coby White's points. We hashed it out a little bit in the Discord. Ray liked the threes. That was a look that he put out there. And I was like, you know what? That might be the best pivot from the points over to the threes. I'm not scared of 20.5 points for Coby White because he has been on one. But the threes as the spot up shooter for him is definitely a slightly better look. Let's put it that way. 2.5 threes. I thought we might see this at 3.5, but Coby hasn't been doing this quite as much against other teams. That said, he got in his groove against Atlanta, hit 3 against them. He's gone over in 7 straight games versus Miami, hitting these at least 3 threes in that time frame, and actually hitting 4 threes the majority of the time. 5 of those 7 that he's gotten over the 2.5, he's gotten 4 3-pointers made. He's averaging on the season this year versus Miami, because they played 4 times, 10 threes per game against Miami. For him to hit 3 out of 10, let's say 3 out of 9 even, that's a pretty good look for Coby, who was struggling with his shot before the last couple and definitely seems to be finding it. In terms of the points and the threes in general, he's the number 1 spot up shooter in the league in terms of the amount of points that he's scoring per game, about 6.8 points per game from the spot up, which is better than Klay Thompson. It's better than all these other dudes who you think of as spot up shooters. He's been very efficient and impactful as a spot up shooter. And that's what we know about Miami. Really, the case here for Miami is they're the second worst defense against the spot up because of the fact that they collapse, right? And that's why they don't give up stuff anywhere inside the paint, anywhere right around even the mid range. They're a very, very good defense, but if they will give up those threes because they'll collapse on dudes who drive into the lane and then have those guys like Coby White standing out above the break or in the corner where they're available for some open 3-point shots, which is heavily correlated to DeMar DeRozan getting points and assists. And I can't possibly go against DeMar's points right now. It's a little bit high. You're going to see it at 26 or 27.5. I'm adding the assist because I love the way that he's been trying to dime up. And it really goes with that theory and the storyline that I've built up, which is dudes that drive into the lane, which is DeMar, gets into the lane, likes going to the basket and either shooting from about 5 feet out or shooting from about, the mid-range 12 to 15 feet out. But if they collapse on him, which I fully expect them to do in this Miami Heat defense, then he's going to have the kick out. I still like the points because I think he's going to be getting at least 20 to 22 shots in this game. If you look at the way that he's been shooting over the course of the last 10, this man is on a mission. He's gone over the points and assists combined in 8 of the last 10, taking 22 field goal attempts per game. So I could never look for an under with DeMar, even against this really good Heat defense, when you're talking about him taking 22 shots in this situation, right? And I don't think that's going anywhere. Plus, you've got the free throw attempts. Now, in the last 10, he's at about 8 free throw attempts per game. This Heat team is good at limiting free throws, but he does have 10 per game against them in his last 3 that he's played again without Zach LaVine, right? And in those 3 without Zach LaVine, dating back to the end of the 2022 season, This dude basically looked at 16.5 potential assists per game. It's crazy how bad this Bulls shooting has been when DeMar is trying to dime up, right? And that's a testament to his ability to just keep getting in the lane and throwing it back out. 17 potential assists is a crazy high amount. That's Tyrese Halliburton, Trae Young territory, right? But he's been doing that against Miami because of that storyline that I've really seen now happen a majority of the time, especially when he plays without Zach LaVine, is that he's getting into the lane, they're collapsing on him. He's either getting to the free throw line, getting up a mid-range shot, or kicking it out for three and getting a lot of opportunities for guys to get open threes against this Heat team that, like I said, gives up a ton of spot up stuff. So as long as that all goes to plan, he really only needs like a 40%, not even maybe 35% assist rate on his potential assists for him to get this number with the assists alongside the points. So I went for both of them. I love the assists, but I wanted to get the points added there as well because it's DeMar in a big game that I can't see him shying away from shooting the ball a ton against the Heat in this one. And that is all the time that I have for you guys in this one. Definitely want to subscribe to that page. Jump into that Discord as well. You can see we got this thing going now. Link to the Discord is in the description of the video. Also, all the tools that I'm using to get these bets that I'm finding, those are in the description of the video as well, linked in there for you. And I would recommend jumping in that Discord, not just because I'm throwing bets in the Discord, but we've got a ton of really good people sharing information, building a really nice community. So would love to have any hoop heads and the like of the baseball heads as well. We're gonna be getting some MLB going here pretty soon. Already got a bunch of people throwing out bets in there right now. That a couple that have hit, I know. Shout out my guy Burr Oaks and everybody else in there. So have a good time with this one. Check out the Western Conference play-in final that I have a video up for you as well with some bets in there. And then we'll be back on that live stream at 5:30 p.m. Eastern on Friday, and got a bunch more live streams coming over the weekend for these games as well. So don't miss out. And until I see you next, happy betting.